Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about temporal bone. Here you can see the diagram of skull and the green area is the temporal bone. We will start our topic with introduction. Temporal bone is one of the most complex and functionally significant bones in the human skull. That is located on both sides as it is pair bone, that means there are two bones in every skull, and it contributes to the formation of cranial cavity. It houses essential sensory organs related to hearing and balance and provides attachment point for muscle involved in movements and mastication. Understanding its anatomy is crucial for medical studies as it plays a vital role in neurological and auditory functions. Now let's talk about the location of the temporal bone. Temporal bone is a pair bone, that means there is one bone on each side of the skull. It forms part of the lateral and inferior aspect of cranial vault and articulates with the occipital bone, parietal bone, sphenoid bone, and zygomatic bone. Additionally, it houses the structure of the inner and middle ear and connects with the mandible at the temporomandibular joint. Further talking about its location, its bone is automatically divided into four main parts, and these parts of bone include squamous part, that is the largest and thinnest section, forming the lateral aspect of skull and contributing to the cranial vault. The second part is tympanic part, that is the portion surrounding the external acoustic meatus, playing a role in the auditory system. The third part of it is petrous part, that is the densest section of the temporal bone, and it houses the inner ear structure responsible for hearing and balance. The next part is the mastoid part, that is the posterior section containing ear cells that assist the sound conduction and inferior resistance. Else than that, it also has a styloid part. This bone is anatomically divided into four main parts, and these parts we just talked about. And further talking about anatomical features, temporal bone contains several significant landmarks that facilitate hearing, balance, and articulation. Its anatomical features include external acoustic meatus, that is external opening that allows sound waves to enter the auditory canal leading to the eardrum. The second anatomical feature is mastoid process, that is bony projection at the posterior aspect of temporal bone serving as an attachment site for muscle involved in the head movements. The third anatomical feature of it is styloid process, that is slender extension from the temporal bone that provides attachment point for the muscle associated with tongue and throat. An anatomical feature include petrous portion, that is the hardest portion of the skull, and it protects delicate structures of inner ear including the cochlea and vestibular apparatus. It also has internal acoustic meatus, that is passageway for facial nerve, that is cranial nerve number 7, and vestibulocochlear nerve, that is cranial nerve number 8, and which controls facial movements and auditory functions. The next anatomical feature of it is temporomandibular joint or mandibular fossa, the joint connecting the temporal bone to the mandible, allowing movement essential for chewing and speaking, is present in the temporal bone. Each of these landmarks play a crucial role in auditory function, cranial nerve transmission, and structural integrity. Now we will talk about the functions of temporal bone. The temporal bone performs several essential functions within the skull, including protection of sensory structure as it houses and shields the delicate auditory and vestibular organ responsible for hearing and balance. The second function is a hearing and sound transmission, as the external, middle, and inner ear structure are present in the temporal bone, process sound waves and convert them into the neural signals. And the third function of it is support for head and neck muscles, as various muscles attach to the temporal bone contributing to the head movement, facial expression, and speech. The next function of it is structural integrity of the skull, as the temporal bone reinforces lateral and inferior regions of cranium, ensuring stability. Now let's talk about the clinical significance of temporal bone. The temporal bone is involved in various medical conditions and surgical procedures. These are temporal bone fracture, that are basically the head trauma that can lead to fracture affecting hearing, balance, and facial nerve function. The second is middle ear infection, that is also called as otitis media. That is infection in the tympanic cavity, and it can cause pain, hearing loss, and complication if untreated. The next significance is temporomandibular joint disorders or TMJ dysfunction. Dysfunctioning of TMJ can lead to jaw pain, difficulty chewing, and clicking sensation. Next clinical significance of temporal bone include vestibular disorders. As damage to inner ear structure within the petrous portion can result in vertigo, dizziness, and balance issue. And the next significance is hearing loss and nerve compression. As compression of vestibulocochlear nerve within the internal linguistic medius can lead to sensory neural hearing loss. Now let's talk about the conclusion of our lecture. Temporal bone is structurally and functionally a critical part of skull, housing essential sensory organs, supporting cranial nerve function, and providing attachment for muscle involved in movement and auditory processes. Its complexity makes it a focal point in medical studies, particularly in otology, neurology, and craniofacial surgery. Understanding the temporal bone anatomy and significance aids in diagnosing and treating conditions related to hearing, balance, and skull integrity. And this was all about temporal bone. Hopefully you liked the video. If you do, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Thank you for watching.